Mental health is a topic that is becoming increasingly popular to talk about. Whether it's at school, your work, on the news, or any sort of media, people are talking about mental health.
Let's talk about mental health.
Mental health matters.
Mental health issues.
Mental health problems.
Mental health challenges.
Your mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health issues.
Mental health.
Mental health.
World Mental Health Day.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health issues.
Mental illness.
Mental health.
Mental health. Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health issues. Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health. Mental health.
Mentally healthy.
My name is Stuart and I'm a registered social worker and I work in private practice delivering psychotherapy services. And while I work in the mental health field and of course have a passion for it, one of the things that I find incredibly frustrating is that nobody ever defines it. What is mental health?
What do you mean by that?
One of the seemingly obvious ways to try and find a definition is to take a look at the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM. This is sort of the book on mental health. This is where most of our language comes from for a certain sort of mental illnesses and disorders. It all comes from the DSM, and the DSM is now on version 5 and has gone through a lot of changes. However, even the DSM, with almost 1,000 pages and almost 300 definitions for mental disorders and mental illnesses, does not provide us with a definition of mental health.
What the heck is going on?
That could possibly mean that leaves us to assume that mental health or being mentally healthy is the absence of all of these disorders. However, without going into the plethora of issues with the DSM, it would be fairly safe to say that all of us would meet the criteria for something in that book.
Tell me about it.
So what's going on? Do we live in a society in a modern age where everybody's mental health is getting worse and we're struggling more? That certainly can be a hypothesis. However, an argument that I fall more in line with is, one second, perhaps we just live in a toxic culture. I'm not suggesting all of our culture and society is toxic, but I do think it's an important aspect when looking at mental health is to look at the environment in which people are living in. Is the environment set up to promote one's mental health? Now, I know we're a little bit into the video and we still haven't touched on the actual definition of mental health.
I don't know why you like me.
Is due to the inherent subjectivity and uncertainty of mental health. Now, the DSM, the book I talked about earlier, is in some ways an attempt to medicalize or make mental health objective. It fails to do that for various scientific reasons, but it is an attempt, and I think it can be argued that it has helped push the mental health field forward. However, ultimately, there is no test for mental health, an objective test. When we go to the doctor and we're worried about something like diabetes, we can run tests, we can have tests run for us to objectively prove that we have what the doctor says we have. We would never just go to the doctor and be asked a series of 10 to 20 questions and then be put on insulin for diabetes. Mental health is ambiguous. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and we as humans, as a species, do not do well with ambiguity.
It is, of course, incredibly hard and complicated to grapple with life, to consider the abstract concepts of existence and meaning and being. However, the overwhelm and challenge found in this, in the whirlpool of uncertainty, absurdity, and responsibility, is perhaps the unavoidable price of the great gift that we all are given at birth.
I wanted to share a resource that I stumbled upon that I found really helpful in providing some sort of answer or definition to mental health. And I also want to point out that I'm very optimistic about the future of the mental health field because aspects of this answer are being used more and more in the mental health field. Now, this quote or this definition comes from Brad Peters. You can check him out at bpeters.ca. I'll put a link in the description. And on his personal psychology website, he's a psychologist in Canada. I believe it's Halifax. He offers a mental health definition that resonated with me very well. Brad Peters starts off by saying, while many in our profession will take courses in psychopathology, few psychologists will ever take coursework in defining mental health. This is unfortunate in my opinion. because it may create an unnecessary bias toward pathology. I believe a workable definition of mental health can involve a person's ability to think, to act, and to feel in ways that are open and flexible. If those qualities are met, in my opinion, the individual is likely to be adaptive. It therefore involves broadening one's capacity to think less rigidly and more creatively, to feel with greater depth and intensity, and to act in ways that challenge old patterns to open up new possibilities for living. That is a fantastic attempt at defining mental health, in my opinion. So the next time you're at school, you're at work, or maybe you're a student in school and you're talking about mental health, maybe raise your hand and ask them to define what they mean when they use the term mental health. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in content like this, I'm going to be creating more in the sort of therapist space, and I hope that you find it valuable. You can hit the subscribe button to be notified of new uploads. And of course, don't forget, take care of your mental health.